My guest is an extraordinary Miamian, Dr. Jacques Fresco. I could go through all the things that Dr. Fresco has done. He's a social engineer, industrial engineer, designer, inventor, consultant, was a consultant for Rotorcraft Helicopter, director of Scientific Research Laboratories, Los Angeles, designed and copyrighted various items ranging from drafting instruments to X-ray units. Has had works published in the Architectural Record, Popular Mechanics, Saturday Review, and has been a technical and psychological consultant to the motion picture industry, member of the Air Force Design Development Unit at Wright Field, developed the electrostatic anti-icing systems, designed prefabricated aluminum houses. What does it say in your driver's license? What is the occupation?
Industrial designer.
Jacques, you...
Social engineer.
Does it bug you that people, when they talk about Jacques Fresco in Miami, say that he's someone who's too far ahead of his time? His thinking is, we're not ready for advanced kind of thinking, of that type. Does it bug you?
I imagine every creative person in every field encounters that sort of problem. No, it doesn't. I can't afford it. There's too many things that are important.
The water of the oceans of the world is almost always in motion. Hardly ever interrupted, waves break at the coastlines, sometimes strong, sometimes weaker. There is an enormous energy potential that is available round the clock and free of charge. A potential that, if fully exploited, could satisfy 40% of the worldwide demand for power. This equals the output of 700 to 800 nuclear power stations. The operating principle of this wave power station is as simple as it is ingenious. An enclosed chamber has an opening beneath sea level, which allows water to flow from the sea to the chamber and back. The water level in the chamber rises and falls with the rhythm of the waves, and air is forced forwards and backwards through the turbine, connected to an upper opening in the chamber. As it is compressed and decompressed, the airflow has sufficient power to drive the Wells turbine. It is a feature of the Wells turbine, named after its inventor, that it is driven in the same direction by both forward and reverse airflow through the turbine. Even relatively low wave motions can generate enough airflow to keep the turbine moving and to generate energy. The world's first power station of this kind was put in service as early as November 2000 on the Scottish island of Islay and has been feeding power to the grid ever since.
Sea creatures are inspiring the latest devices that harness wave power. This one, called the oyster, sits on the ocean floor and opens and closes as waves pass over it. Cables attach it to generators on the shore. Since November 2009, it's been powering 9,000 homes in the Orkney Islands. Another device looks like a snake. The anaconda is made from a rubber tube filled with water that floats just below the surface. When a swell hits the front of it, the tube is squeezed. A bulge ripples down its length and powers a turbine in its tail. Prototypes are currently being tested, but the full-scale version will be 200 meters long.
inside of the collector area looks like. 4.4 hectares of plastic material called Teil, polyvinyl fluoride, which is held in position here by these spreaders like that. You can see them underneath here, pulled down by this heavy weight. And that's to keep everything tight so that it can handle the high winds that are generated, not only by the air flowing through to the chimney, but also in this area generally, winds can get up to around 150 kilometers an hour. During the day, the heat builds up here to around 50 degrees centigrade, and the air starts flowing in continually towards the chimney. But the interesting thing is that it also works at night as well as day, and in cloudy and rainy spells as well, because not only the air, but the ground beneath it is heated up during the day to such a degree that in the nighttime it re-radiates that heat back again, keeping the air warm and flowing inwards towards the chimney all the time. Instead of a desert developing underneath this collecting area because of the high temperatures here, they got instead quite luxuriant plant growth underneath because of the greenhouse effect, which produced large quantities of condensation during the night. Well, this is the funnel, as it's known, and it's not much more really than two curved capes made of a polymer-coated fabric, which gives a smooth transition for the air that's coming in from the collecting area outside and going up into the chimney above me here, where you can just see the blades of the turbine turning slowly around. Well, it's switched off at the moment because they're making some adjustments. This solar chimney in Spain has demonstrated that it will be possible in the future to compete on a dollar-for-dollar basis with virtually any other form of power generation, with that one unbeatable advantage that it's got an inexhaustible source of free, original energy in the sun.
The floral panels introduced as windows that generate electricity are prototypes of the dye-sensitized solar cell being developed by Sony. Light energy absorbed by the color parts is converted to electricity to drive a propeller. A feature of these panels is that they can be fabricated easily by coating electrodes with dye and affixing them next to each other. The simple manufacturing processes of coating and printing give these panels a lot of freedom in design. They also have high generating performance indoors and under low light, and their performance doesn't deteriorate even if the light's angle of incidence changes. These features are expected to enable the new solar cells to be used in a variety of everyday applications for which conventional solar cells have not been suitable. As a mobile application, Sony also displayed a solar charger with dye-sensitized solar cells. The pattern on the surface of the panel generates electricity which is stored in a lithium-ion charger. At Echo Products 2009, Sony used an indoor light source to actually power a Walkman as a demonstration.
The natural heat of the Earth creates geothermal resources. This heat comes from molten rock called magma, located at the Earth's core, deep below the geothermal resource. Over thousands of years, rainwater seeps through cracks in the Earth's surface and collects in underground reservoirs. The magma heats the water until it becomes a superheated fluid. To reach the superheated fluid, wells are drilled 5,000 to 10,000 feet below the surface of the Earth. These wells, called production wells, bring the superheated fluid to the Earth's surface, where it can be used to generate electricity for homes and businesses. Under its own pressure, superheated fluid from the geothermal resource flows naturally to the surface through production wells. As the liquid flows toward the surface, the pressure decreases, causing a small portion of the fluid still within the well to separate or flash into steam. At the surface, the superheated fluid and steam mixture flows through surface pipelines and into a wellhead separator. Inside the separator, the pressure of the superheated fluid is reduced. This causes a large amount of the superheated fluid to rapidly vaporize and flash into high-pressure steam. The geothermal fluid that is not flashed into steam in the wellhead separator flows to a second vessel called a standard pressure crystallizer, where an additional amount of standard pressure steam is produced. The flash process continues in the low-pressure crystallizer. The remaining fluid is again flashed, this time at a lower pressure to produce low-pressure steam. All of the low-pressure, standard pressure, and high-pressure steam is delivered to a turbine. The fluid that is not flashed into steam flows into the reactor clarifier system and is then returned to the geothermal reservoir through injection wells.
Some of this energy has already been harnessed for mankind. The geothermal plant at Werrikai supplies 18% of the electricity needed by New Zealand's North Island.
Maglev Wind Turbine Technologies Incorporated has now made the quantum leaps in wind power harnessing innovation that will replace wind farms currently requiring tens of thousands of acres. Maglev Wind Turbine Technologies inventor Ed Measure has created this industry-evolving sail-fin generator, which replaces 1,000 inefficient propeller towers, producing up to 2 gigawatts of renewable power on less than 100 acres with minimal environmental impact. This is because Maglev Wind Turbine requires no input power source. It rides on a frictionless earth magnet base and frictionless gears, requiring minimal maintenance. With on-site power storage and conversion, Maglev Wind Turbine is grid-ready and self-sufficient.
The vertical farm concept started in a classroom. Traditional farming, everybody's familiar with it. You know, you plow the land, you plant the seeds, you water and you fertilize and you grow and then you harvest and then you ship. That's normal farming. Now vertical farming does the opposite, except for one thing. Vertical farms still make your food, but they employ closed-loop agricultural technologies. That means all the water is recycled, all the nutrients are recycled, and the only thing that actually leaves the building is the produce.
This is a type of hydroponic growing system, and you have multiple layers of plants to maximise the space for cultivation. The top trays are going to get the maximum light. The lower trays, particularly the bottom ones, are very shaded. But by it moving, that opens up the trays to different angles of sunlight. This system's great to have in the zoo because we're growing the crops here. They go straight out the same day to the animals. They're not refrigerated at all, so they have all those sugars really intense and really sweet. The plants are growing in a bath of water. This water is changed each time the crop's watered, which allows fresh nutrients and oxygenated water to go in. Hydroponics is a great system for growing crops because it optimises the food and water that the plant gets, which maximises the speed that the crop can grow and maximises the nutrients that are going to be contained within that crop.
There's some real opportunities to connect people to the systems that sustain us in a new urban environment. So we can actually see the water tanks. We might even be walking between the water tanks at the street level. We would be adjacent to the photovoltaic panels that were collecting the solar power. We'd be walking past the restaurant that was serving the food from the roofs above. So there's a lot of opportunities to connect people with these food systems and these ecological systems that are part of the new city topology.
We imagined a new place in town. A place where healthy food is produced, where research to guarantee food security is carried out, where you may learn